Figures like Vincent Mangano emerged as pivotal players in mid-20th century, weaving a complex web of alliances and rivalries. Vincent Mangano, born in Sicily and rising to prominence in New York, was a key figure in the ongoing narrative of organized crime in America. He became the head of what would later be known as the Gambino crime family, one of the 5 families that dominated the mafia era in New York City. This period was marked by a ruthless competition for power, where loyalty and betrayal coexisted in a fine balance. The significance of introducing Vincent Mangano lies in understanding the foundational dynamics of organized crime before the more infamous stories of figures like Albert Anastasia, who dramatically overshadowed and eventually erased Mangano's influence. Mangano's era was notable for a more traditional, almost gentlemanly approach to organized crime, focusing on syndicate formation and the fostering of legitimate business fronts alongside criminal enterprises. However, this approach was not without its detractors and dangers, ultimately setting the stage for the violent power struggles that would follow. To illustrate Mangano's influence, consider his role in the establishment of the Commission in 1931, a governing body of the American Mafia that aimed to prevent the bloody gang wars that characterized the 1920s. This organizational feat not only solidified his power, but also demonstrated his diplomatic prowess in the mafia's delicate ecosystem. Another example is his involvement with the International Longshoremen's Association, which allowed him to control critical waterfront operations, underscoring his strategic use of union influence to expand his power base and financial reach. Despite his contributions, Mangano's leadership and methods were increasingly viewed as outdated compared to the rising tides of aggression and ambition represented by figures like Anastasia. Critics argued that his traditional ways couldn't compete with the ruthless efficiency demanded by the modern context of organized crime. This divergence in methods marked a significant shift in how organized crime was conducted in America, paving the way for more violent and forceful leadership styles. The dynamics between Mangano and Anastasia not only highlight the shifting power structures within the mafia, but also offer a microcosm of the broader narrative of organized crime's evolution. Mangano's leadership style inevitably influenced Anastasia's rise, as the latter capitalized on the former's weaknesses to cement his own legacy. Thus, understanding Vincent Mangano's role is crucial in grasping the intricate and often brutal transitions within the mafia hierarchy, setting the stage for the relentless power plays that defined the era. Vincent Mangano, a figure ingrained in the history of organized crime, presents an intriguing study of power dynamics and ultimate erasure in the shadow of Albert Anastasia. To understand this overshadowing, one must delve into who Mangano was, a prominent Italian-American mobster and the founding leader of what became the Gambino crime family. For years, he oversaw a profitable waterfront operation, known for running the docks, where he gained both wealth and authority. Despite this, the tides of power surged dramatically with the rise of his underboss, Albert Anastasia. The significance of Mangano's overshadowing lies in the broader narrative of mob history, where leadership struggles often played out like Shakespearean tragedies. Mangano's story highlights not only the fragile nature of power within the mafia, but also the transformative shifts that occurred post-World War II as mob influence grew. Anastasia, famously ruthless, was nicknamed the Mad Hatter and was a driving force behind the notorious Murder, Inc. His ambition and ferocity made him a formidable rival to Mangano, ultimately leading to speculations of Mangano's murder and Anastasia taking over the leadership. Two poignant examples vividly illustrate this transition. First, the murder of Vincent Mangano alongside his brother Philip in 1951 remains a pivotal event, shrouded in mystery, yet pointing clearly to Anastasia's involvement. This assassination paved the way for Anastasia's ascension, marking a dramatic shift in the Gambino family's leadership. Secondly, Anastasia's eventual control illustrated his adeptness at navigating and manipulating mob politics to his advantage, consolidating power in ways Mangano could not. While some contemporaries viewed Anastasia as a progressive force who modernized the organization, Others criticized him for his brute force and lack of respect for traditional mafia codes, a polarizing view that amplifies the controversy surrounding these events. Mangano's quieter, albeit solid, leadership stood in stark contrast to Anastasia's audacious maneuvers, highlighting a clash of styles and strategies. This shift in power not only influenced the dynamics within the mafia, but also set a precedent for future internal conflicts and power grabs within organized crime. By examining Mangano's erasure, one gains insight into the volatile nature of mob hierarchies, where loyalty and longevity often fall prey to ambition. The tale of Mangano and Anastasia provides a lens through which to consider the intersection of leadership, loyalty, and legacy within the shadowy world of organized crime, offering rich insights and cautionary lessons on the perils of power. Vincent Mangano, often overshadowed by Anastasia, played a critical role in shaping the early landscape of organized crime in America. He was a pivotal figure in the New York Mafia, heading the family that would eventually be known as the Gambino crime family. Mangano's rise to power marked the establishment of a complex criminal empire that dealt in illicit activities like extortion, gambling, and labor racketeering. His leadership style was strategic and business-oriented, which allowed him to construct a sturdy network of rackets that significantly profited the mafia. The rise of Vincent Mangano is significant because it laid the groundwork for the Gambino family's eventual dominance in the New York underworld. Mangano's ability to forge alliances, most notably with the likes of Lucky Luciano and other mafia leaders, helped in consolidating power among the five families. His influence in the formation of the National Crime Syndicate further cemented his importance, as this consortium became a pivotal force in American organized crime for decades. One key example of Mangano's impact was his control over the waterfronts in Brooklyn. By monopolizing union activities, Mangano ensured that the shipments moving through the docks were subject to mafia taxation and control, thus generating enormous revenues. Another example was his involvement in the syndicate's gambling enterprises, managing operations that spanned from New York to New Orleans, illustrating his reach beyond the city's limits. Supporters of Mangano might argue that his methodical and somewhat diplomatic approach to crime family operations provided a stable foundation that allowed future leaders to thrive. In contrast, critics might point to Mangano's inability to foresee the threat posed by his deputy, Anastasia, as a significant oversight. This internal power struggle ultimately culminated in Mangano's disappearance and possible murder, allegedly orchestrated by Anastasia, highlighting the precariousness of mafia politics. This rise, fraught with both alliances and betrayals, underscores the duality of trust and treachery that defines mafia history. Mangano's story not only sets the stage for the ensuing conflict with Anastasia, but also illustrates the volatile nature of mafia leadership, where today's ally could be tomorrow's adversary. Understanding Mangano's ascendancy is crucial to comprehending the eventual power shifts and internal feuds that shaped the New York crime families. This context enriches the narrative of Anastasia's later dominance, providing a backdrop of ambition and peril in the unforgiving hierarchy of organized crime. Vincent Mangano, a significant figure in the world of organized crime, was once a formidable leader, heading what is now known as the Gambino crime family. However, his stature in crime history is largely overshadowed by the infamous Anastasia, who succeeded him under controversial circumstances. This narrative is emblematic of the volatile nature of mob hierarchies and the ruthless character often required to climb the ranks. Significantly, Mangano's story highlights the cutthroat politics within organized crime, where allegiances are transient and power is often seized through violence. One key example of Mangano's influence is his role in the early development of the covert international union known as the Commission, an entity designed to mitigate conflict among the American mafia families. His participation in such an organization underscores Mangano's strategic mind and his ambition to mold the mob into a more structured enterprise. Yet, his tenure was abruptly ended in 1951 when he disappeared under mysterious circumstances. with strong suspicions pointing toward Anastasia's involvement. Another illustration of Mangano's impact can be found in his efforts to blend legitimate business with criminal activity. This tactic was integral to the mob's survival and growth, providing a veneer of legitimacy to illicit operations. Mangano's ventures set the stage for future crime leaders to expand their empires through both legal and illegal means, a legacy that persisted long after his demise. While some historians view Mangano as a pivotal figure, ensuring organized crime's endurance through strategic foresight, others argue that his methods were ultimately inferior to those of Anastasia. Anastasia's notoriety for bold and brutal acts, leading to his moniker, the Lord High Executioner, suggests a preference within the underworld for leaders who wielded power with an iron fist. The erasure of Mangano's contributions from mainstream narratives could be attributed to the sensational nature of Anastasia's rule. Controversies surrounding Mangano's disappearance, likely orchestrated by Anastasia himself, serve as a stark reminder of the lethal stakes involved in mafia leadership battles. Yet, Mangano's initial achievements fostered pathways for organized crime's evolution, influencing subsequent leadership dynamics. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the relentless pursuit of power and how it can lead to one's downfall through betrayal. Through exploring Mangano's legacy, we better understand the intricate dance between ambition, power, and loyalty in the world of organized crime.